Hi there guys, thank you for checking out this video. My name is Cadence and welcome along to my December setup. I can hardly believe that this is the final setup of 2025. It's been a bit of a difficult year for me to keep up with my bullet journal. I have been really busy renovating my first home. I've also been a bridesmaid, so I've been helping planning the wedding and the hen parties and things. And I've also been studying for a qualification at work. It's all good problems to have, of course, but it has meant that keeping up with my journal has been challenging this year. I'm kind of shocked that I keep managing to come up with theme ideas every month. Another 12 have been done. This is my 5th year of doing journaling. And yeah, fingers crossed I don't run out of ideas because I really enjoy it still. And it's not long before I'm going to need to start thinking about my 2026 journal. But I am hoping I will have a little bit more time to do it next year. Anyway, as you can see, I am doing my usual wintery, Christmassy theme for December this year. So the main focus of my front cover this time is this jar shape cut out of craft paper. I've had this little set for ages because of the hole cut out of the top of them and the string that comes with it as well. I think these are designed to either be bunting or labels for gifts and things like that. And I've had it for absolutely years and I've never used them for either of those purposes. So I thought it would be cool to sort of use them kind of like a snow globe. I've seen people do like homemade snow globes where they put little scenes inside jars. So that's kind of what sparked the idea for this. And I'm using my favourite white jelly roll pens just to draw a little scene inside a couple of gingerbready type houses on some snow with pine trees all around them. And I also added a moon and a starry night sky and a flurry of snow as well. And I really love how the design came out. I think it looks so cute and very wintry. Definitely a good theme for this time of year. For the title, I wrote December on a diagonal across a little mini label, and I tied that around the neck of the jar with the twine that came in that set. Now, putting some string, especially with a bow in it, inside a journal can then sort of make the surface of the pages quite bumpy, so on the next page over it will be difficult to maybe write neatly in some places on it because it won't go completely flat. But I don't know, I just really wanted to put the twine in. I thought it'd look really cool, and as this is the last setup of this year, it'll be the final time I'm using this journal, so it's not going to affect a large amount of the journal. It's just going to be for this month. And actually, as I was going through the rest of the setup, drawing everything out, it didn't actually affect it too much. I think it was okay. So yeah, worked out better than expected. Because the square journal is quite large and there's a fair amount of white space around the jar, I decided to use a snowflake punch just to cut out a load of snowflakes from some brown paper to decorate the rest of the page. And I really love how it turned out. I mean, it's pretty much just brown and white on the whole page, but it definitely feels Christmassy to me. I really like it. The next page was for my calendar, and I found a brush pen that was very similar colour to the brown paper, sort of like gingerbready type tone. So I decided to use that to draw out all my boxes, and I was really pleased with how that looked actually. I wasn't sure if it was quite the right brown tone, but I think it looks good. I went with individual boxes this time. Each one is 4 squares by 4, and then 1 row of squares at the top for the number. And this time December starts on a Monday, which I love always when it does that because it just makes everything look so neat and tidy when the first of the month starts right at the beginning. I did my month title again, but this time I decided to do it on a piece of brown paper that I just ripped and left the edges untidy. I had a bit of space down the left side of the page for some decoration. The jars were a little bit too big to use for decoration on any of the other pages, so instead of doing more of the snowy doodles in the jars, I just did some on some more brown paper. So I ripped up a narrow part just to fit into there, did a couple of trees and some snow and the moon and the stars again. Drawing out these trees is actually really simple. They're very scribbly in nature. You just sort of start with a very small triangle at the top, and then you just kind of scribble down, getting wider and wider all the way towards the bottom. And then when you've got as low as you want to do, you just add a little trunk straight down to the ground. Now, I know I said that I liked how the front page was just brown and white, but as we go through the whole rest of the setup, it's a bit too brown, so I decided to add in a bit of colour. I had some scraps of Christmassy paper that I've had just left over from other craft projects, and they are sort of on the brownish spectrum, but they do include reds and greens in there as well, so that just injects a bit of colour into the design, and I think it complements the brown really well. In the space to the right of the calendar, I decided to make that my gratitude log, and this is a very simple, quick setup. I just drew a large box, and then down the left hand side I did a thicker line with the brush pen, and then did numbers 1 to 31 all the way down there, so then there's one line a day to write stuff that I'm grateful for in. The title again is done with the brush pen on brown paper. To finish it off and make sure it's kind of symmetrical with the other side, I added a few more scraps of the Christmassy paper, which also again adds a bit more colour on that side of the page as well. And I'm really pleased with how those two spreads worked out. The next page is for my ever important to-do list, and I felt like this was a space where I could use the jars again. They are quite large, so there's a decent area to write inside them, and just to sort of make them maybe easier to write in, I decided to highlight kind of every other line with the brush pen, and that sort of just gives maybe a neater space to be able to write stuff down in. I don't know, it just seemed better to have some lines on the jars than just leaving them blank for some reason. But yeah, I think it will help when I actually put my list together to have those pre-marked out lines. I added another label as the title to the jar this time. I did add the twine on slightly differently. I didn't tie it in a bow, so then it's not going to make as big a lump, which should be a bit easier for drawing on top of on the adjoining page. And I kept the decoration pretty minimal on this one, really just a couple of bits of the paper at the bottom to add a bit of colour and a few snowflakes here and there. It didn't feel like there was very much room to do much more than that, and I didn't really want the page to be too busy anyway, so I think I'm happy with that amount of decoration. So on to the next page, which I have got as my Christmas lists. And this is one I tend to do every year, and I find it quite helpful to help me organise things. So I just used my brush pen to mark out 2 boxes on the page. One of them is for my Christmas card list, so I'll just jot down everyone who I'm doing a Christmas card for and then tick them off when I've done that. And then the other page is for the gifts I need to get, so I will use that space for ideas, brainstorming on what gifts I can get. And then also once I've decided, I can tick those things off when I've got them, and it just helps me keep on top of those things in preparation for Christmas. Although sometimes I think I should add it to my November setup rather than leave it till December, because by December I have half my gifts ready already, so maybe it'd be better to put it in my November one next year. I wanted quite a decent space to write in each of the boxes, so there's not too much space for decoration on this one, but I did add another little space to do a doodle on the craft paper at the bottom, and also add a few strips of the Christmassy paper and some snowflakes along the top as well. The next page is for my habits and trackers, and again using the brown brush pen, I've drawn out my 2 usual tables. It is a little bit tricky to draw thin lines with the brush pen. You have to be very gentle when you press. It does have like a thin side, it's like a double-ended pen, but the fine tip is very, very fine, and I just finding it wasn't really showing up very well, so I decided to use the brush pen to draw thin lines as well. And it didn't work out too bad. It doesn't look too messy, I don't think. For some reason, I didn't count this table out properly, and I did not give myself enough numbers along the top. I stopped at 25 boxes instead of going to 31. I think it's because I drew out the design and then decided I wanted to move it over a little bit, but then I didn't add on the extra boxes to account for moving it over. So yes, that was a slight problem because I'd already drawn out those boxes, but it's all good. Due to all the Dutch doors that I create throughout the years, I always have plenty of scrap dot grid paper lying around, so I just used a bit of that, trimmed it down so that it was 2 boxes wide, and then stuck it over the top of the line that I didn't want visible, and then just carried on drawing the box as it should have been. And you can still see where the error is, you know, you can't hide it completely, but putting the paper over the top of it is much better than just leaving it there, I find, because then you can just carry on and draw over the top of it as you normally would, and it's not as much of a distraction as having a line in the wrong places. After I filled in all my boxes for my habits and my plant watering, I did my title in the same style that I did on the previous pages on the brown paper. And I had a similar amount of space left on this one as I did with the calendar page, so I did the same thing really. I ripped up a piece of the brown paper to do a little doodle on it. I did some more gingerbready type houses with some of the trees and the moon and stars. And to finish off the whole thing, a few more scraps of colourful paper and the snowflakes here and there. To the right side, I made that space for memories. And again, that was a really simple one, just drew the box out with the brush pen and gave it a title. I used a slightly different label for the title this time. I think I've used about 3 different ones in this setup. I have a thing about labels. I just really like labels, and I've got quite a big collection of labels. I also collect labels from things that I've bought that look cool, from clothes or from gifts and things like that, so I just like to keep them all in a little box. One day I want to create a whole setup just using labels and see how that would turn out. I think that would be really cool, so maybe that will be something I'll try in 2026. The next page is more of a fun than functional one, and it is my Christmas bucket list. I'm going to make 3 lists on this page. One for movies and TV that I want to watch over the festive period while I have a break from work. One for activities that I want to do, and one for like favourite foods and things that I want to make sure that we get for the Christmas period. And I think movies and TV will probably be the biggest list, so I've used another jar cut out for that and put the title label around the neck of the jar on that one. For the activities, I've used a ripped piece of brown craft paper, and then for the food one at the bottom, that's probably going to be the smallest one, so I've drawn out a small box at the bottom with the brush pen. And on the rest of the page, I have layered up some nice bits of paper and finished off with a few snowflakes as well, of course. And my final setup is, of course, my weekly spreads. I've drawn quite a big table for them this time. So I've got all the dates in boxes down the left side of the page, and then a long strip for each day to write in whatever I need to get in there. This month I've also added a mini calendar to the top of the page. I feel like in December everything builds up so much to Christmas and you've got so many things going on. It's good just to have a little visible calendar so you can just see where each day falls more easily. I've also added a small task list, again on some brown paper, and that is just to try and keep on top of things because it's going to be a pretty busy month, and although I do have my main to-do list, I think it's going to be helpful to be able to break down some tasks per week over December as well. And that is my final setup of 2025 complete. I really love how this one turned out, and I just love the cute design on the jar on the front cover. I think that's my favourite page this month. Thank you so very much to all those of you who have watched, liked, commented and subscribed this year. It really means so much to share my creativity with you, and it makes me so happy when I hear that it's provided some inspiration to others. I am very grateful to be able to do this and to be able to connect with other like-minded people all around the world. So yeah, thank you so much again, and I look forward to creating more content in 2026. Thank you for watching. Bye!